Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. I am so delighted to be here with Natalie, who made her fantastic documentary, Natalie's Point of View. Hello, Natalie.
Hi, how are you?
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for being here. And for those that haven't seen your documentary, let's take a look at a clip.
I really started to work on my faith, understanding that even though I can't see better days now, they're coming. It was really me changing my mindset. This situation doesn't define me. Like, I have a disability, but my disability is not Natalie.
Natalie, I'm so happy to. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person, and but I'll give you a virtual hug from here.
Hugs you back, hugs you back.
Yay. Thank you so much. I love your documentary. I love seeing your wonderful talent as a dancer. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Yeah, so I have an amazing team, first and foremost. Regina Saldivar, Christian Moldez, Abby Fuller, Shakira Barrera. They came to me with this idea of doing a film because they have such a heart for the blindness community, especially Abby and Regina. They did a documentary before called Do You Dream in Color about the blind community. And Regina has worked with Theater by the Blind for a few years as a director. And so we really wanted to make this film that showed blindness as power and as strength and as something really interesting, because I feel like when we're in media, it's always like the helpless, the hopeless, people want to feel sorry for us. And the whole basis of Natalie's point of view is kind of stepping into my life and seeing how I view blindness, which is much different from how the media sees it. And so it's kind of me telling my story of how I went blind and what happened, but you see me preparing to go slay this wonderful event. So you see me getting dressed and doing stuff in the house and looking in my closet, and you see different shots from my childhood and my life. And it's kind of just showing a different aspect of what disability is, because for so long we've been put in an other category, and we're not other. We're just as much as part of society as anybody else. And that was so important for me and the team to show in Natalie's point of view.
Oh, I mean, I honestly would want to I just want to hear from you every day, because you have such an inspiring voice. And I think the wonderful thing, like you just said, but the wonderful thing that was great to see you and your story is that I think people fell in love with you and the inspiration you just gave as a human, and that's such a wonderful thing that you did, to share your own story, to inspire, educate others as well. And I think that was so powerful. Now, it is really tough when, you're obviously talking about a subject, like you said, that really needs a significant change in how it's perceived in the media. And I love that you mentioned strength and power, because, you really do have amazing strength and power as a human, and it's inspirational. And I feel like you inspire everyone and give everybody else strength and power as well, which is great. When was it kind of easy for you to turn around and say, right, I want to do this film about me? Was there any things that you felt you were worried about in kind of making the film, or you just kind of following the lead of your amazing team?
I mean, I was both shocked and honored when they were like, hey, do you want to do this? Let's do this. And I was like, me? I was just they're like, no, because you just your story is so interesting. And I'm that type of person that never thinks my life is that interesting. People oh, what are some of the things that you do? And I'll tell them, they're blown away. And I'm just for me, it's just living. I always want to live my life in a way that was purposeful. And I love how my pastor would say we're called to serve. And so I like to live my life in service to others. And so, that's just how I view life. And so I never thought that it could be movie worthy, it could be film, people would watch it. And so it kind of came to me as a shock, but once we got into it, I could appreciate the parts of my life that that were hard and that I did overcome, and I could see how it could help others, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you certainly did that, but I think what was so great, you are so interesting, Natalie. You're so multi-talented, everything from, being a director to being part of the creative of your own project to being a TV, a podcast on host as well, and a model and an actress and all these different amazing attributes that you have. It was so great to see that play on that journey. What was the kind of hardest thing that you had in kind of making the particular project? Was there any moments in production that you felt difficult or that you were, curious by? What was the hardest thing for you?
Well, I wasn't the director. The director was actually Abby Fuller. And I think the hard part about it was that she was on FaceTime.
Yeah.
And so, she's trying to give me direction over, the phone. Obviously we had the tripod, and like we are all trying to build this together in the midst of coronavirus, and I think that was tough, because we have the cameraman there and he has certain directions that he wants to give, but she also has directions. So sometimes it gets a little crazy, but I think that we like bossed up together as a team and made it work.
Team is everything, isn't it? I mean, it sounds like you had a really fantastic team that, that worked with you as well. And, I think obviously, again, making a film, over the course of FaceTime and trying to make sure that story gets articulated the way you want it to be as well. I'm so curious, like you mentioned briefly about the inspiration for the story. I think we have had so many amazing reaction from us at NewFilmmakers LA about your story. I think people just loved you as a human being and was just, really enjoyed, the way you articulate your life and go about your life. What did you personally want, from your audience? Was there anything you kind of wanted? And let's not forget, you were a finalist of East Cecil's Disability Film Challenge, which we're in partnership with as well, which was fantastic.
I think that what I wanted from my audience is for them to say, you know what, I could see somebody like this on my television. Mm-hmm. This could be something great. And even though I don't have a disability, like I relate to this person and I empathize with this person, not feel sorry, but I can understand the trials and the tribulations that they've been through. And I can put myself in her position and I can see how my life connects to her, because we all have mountains that we have to climb, right? We all have barriers. And so I really just wanted my audience to feel like this is a friend, like this is somebody that I could call, or this is somebody that I could hang out with, and that people understand like, yeah, it is. And so why not have somebody like this on my television all the time? Like, why not start to create characters in TV and film who look like her and sound like her? And so I think that's really what I wanted people to get out of it.
Well, I want you on my television and big screens all the time, Natalie. Like I'm demanding it. I'm demanding it in this interview that happens, and that's really because you just really have a really amazing voice, and care for other human beings. Like you say, you feel like you're in service to others, and people like that. That are artists and creative people like you, really deserve to have that, and that platform. And because you're so much more than just your own art yourself, you're actually, you're helping and supporting others and inspiring other people too, which is, a whole nother level, which I love to get to know you. It was so really wonderful to see you, something that's very, very gifted to you, which is dance. It was so wonderful to see that in the film and see you dance in a obviously things have changed throughout your life and the different things you've had to go through, but the beauty of seeing you dance there with an audience, what was that experience like for you? Because it was really powerful to see on the film.
Well, first off, shout out to the Blind Dance Company, the Emotions show, which is their very first show that I danced in with them. And my choreographer was Haidia Muhammad. Look her up. She's incredible. She teaches blind people how to dance. But I think for me, I hadn't danced in 10 years before that. So I wasn't doing any type of movement or anything. And I kind of like, when I lost my eyesight, I felt like the dancer in me had died. Like I didn't feel like it was something that I was going to be able to do because I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it so much. And when I was a senior, I was dancing and singing in competitive show. And I think I talked about this in the movie, but I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
Like I really thought that I wouldn't be able to do it anymore. And so for me to team up with Haidia and for her to see the gifts and the talents that we both had and we put them together to make that dance come alive was really something special. And so when I got on the stage, what you don't see is that the DJ actually messed up my music. So my music stopped in the middle of that performance. And and I just kept going because that's what you're taught to do. But then after the show was over, I realized that that's my life. Like I went blind and it would seem like everything would stop, but I keep going. I kept going. And that's the beauty of that dance. It's so much more than me getting up there. Like it was such a great metaphor for my life for me after it was all said and done. It's like, yeah, even when the music stops, you just keep going.
It was so great to see you in your element too, like dance is a very natural, gift that you've been given. And was it like to perform and that essence of performance that you get as an artist, was it liberating to just dance? I mean, I know you obviously there was a few technical errors, but was it a liberating experience to dance in that piece, knowing there was an audience watching you? Or did it feel good?
No, it did. And like, it just felt like this freeing thing. And I loved how like my skirt was very flowy. So when I would turn, like it was just like wind and and ocean and just like releasing like all the doubt, really. I had a lot of doubt, had a lot of insecurities about even getting on that stage that night because I didn't know what it was going to be like. And I didn't even know people were going to think I was a good dancer. Not even great, just good. Like I didn't know what the reactions are going to be, but it was just great to just like get out there and just do it and just let the chips fall where they may. But the important part was that I tried.
Yeah. Well, how was that? How did it feel to have that, to hear that applause just, from an audience? Did it feel good for you? Did it feel good?
It did, because like, again, the part that you guys are seeing is when my music stopped and everyone started screaming because I kept going. And it was kind of like they were like the cheerleaders of my life, like, keep going. And my best friend was in the background like, it's okay, babe. Like, and so like, it was like it just like every time I hear her screaming in the movie, it's like, oh my gosh, like I have such a great support system. And I have such amazing people around me. Shout out to Courtney Collins, AKA Coco.
I love it.
But like, I just have such a great, support system. And so to be able to get up there and do that in front of them and them love it, like it was such a surreal feeling.
Oh, I mean, honestly, it was, I think knowing that you hadn't experienced that for 10 years, it just brought tears when I watched it, because I love the release feel that as an artist after those years that it must have felt, because we all have, when you're a creative person, it's almost like exercising and, massaging your mind by, releasing your creativity. And it was such a great experience to see you do that, because, you are so deserving and you have such a great voice as well to support humans. It's really, truly wonderful. Now, very importantly, after this, what is next for you, Natalie?
I I don't even know. Like, there's so many things coming at one time in so many different areas. Like, I have my own podcast called Fashionably Tardy, where we bridge the gap between the disability community and the fashion industry. It's me and my co-host, Alyssa Lowe. She's also legally blind. And so we just tell stories from these amazing fashion creatives, not the people that you normally see, like your Vogues and your famous models like Cara Taylor, but like just people that are doing the work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And because of that, like I started to do fashion influencing for Patty and Ricky, which is the adaptive fashion place. And so opportunities to model have come from there.
Yeah.
And then I'm working on doing some scenes with the Writers Guild of America.
Yes.
They do they do this thing where they have writers with disabilities write scenes, and so I got casted for that recently.
That's amazing.
There's like a lot going on, but I'm hopeful that I get to continue to work within the film and TV industry and to play characters, not disabled, but just to play characters, you know?
Where can people find your podcast, Natalie?
You can go to www.fashionablytardy.com, or you can look us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at FT on the Scene. And again, that's FT, so Fashionably Tardy, so FT and then on the scene.
Fantastic. I just love, you got a really got a great voice for a podcast too. I feel like you got a very caring, warm voice, so you know that always helps too. Well, I mean, there's so many things you said even in the course of this interview that, you know, just in very important words to share. But if you had to summarize what you've learned in your career thus far, and if there's any piece of advice that you could share with our audience, or anybody fighting anything in their world to try and overcome, is there anything that you go by that helps you on your journey?
Yeah, I always like to tell myself, I am not my situation. What I'm going through is temporary and it's not permanent. Obviously being blind is permanent, but like the challenges are always ever changing. They're just temporary. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's up to you to see that light. You have to be positive, and you have to be the light that you want to see, because light attracts light. So when you radiate, as my acting coach tells me, when you radiate, then people are drawn to that. And so just know that your situation, it doesn't define you. It really doesn't. I'm still Natalie, who loves to dance and sing and act and who loves fashion. My situation is just what I'm dealing with at the moment. And so I have to always remember that in order to move forward.
Oh, well, you know, I have to say, like, you know, I love that you said about radiate, because you do radiate, you know, like there's a wonderful energy that I feel that you share. And I think, you know, we need to keep, you know, continuing to share that energy with each other in support of each other. And that's what the world needs right now. We need more Natalies in the world, really. You know, we really do, because that's how we're going to keep moving as human beings and moving forward. And so I'm so glad that you mentioned. So your acting teacher, yep, you radiate, Natalie. It's really great. Well, listen, I'm excited. I'm going to be jumping on that podcast myself, because, you know, I really enjoy the words that you share with us. But I'm so grateful that you made this film, and you know, we'll continue to support you on your journey as a filmmaker. But thank you for making this, and really excited by what's coming up for you in your future.
Thank you so much for having me. Like, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.